Welcome to the sleepy underworld, a place where romance blooms, magic sparkles, and timeless fairy tales are reimagined for the dreamers of today. From heart-stirring romances to spellbinding adventures, every story is a soothing escape into a realm of love, wonder, and charm. So curl up, press play, and let us carry you away to the land of dreams. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. We'd love to know in what part of the world you are watching and what is your favorite tip for a good night's sleep. Thank you for watching and enjoy the video. The wind carried secrets through Mourner's Wood, whispering tales that most villagers had long forgotten. I was not like most villagers. My name is Bellamy Thorne, and I have always heard what others could not, or perhaps would not, hear. My grandmother's cottage perched at the edge of our timeless English village, where crumbling stone walls met whispering willows. The building itself seemed to sag with age, as if surrendering to the weight of stories contained within its walls. I'd lived there since I was 7, when my parents vanished during an expedition to catalog rare orchids in South America. "You have their restlessness," Gran would say, her eyes following me as I paced our small living room. "Never content to stay in one place. It's the Thorne blood." She never spoke of my great-uncle, the famed botanist Mr. Edmund Thorne, except in fragments. A cautionary tale meant to keep me tethered to safety. Yet somehow, knowing we shared a surname made the mystery of his abandoned garden all the more compelling. Tonight, the autumn air slipped through my open bedroom window, carrying the scent of wet earth and decay. Not unpleasant, but rich with possibility. I couldn't sleep. Not that sleep ever came easily to me. My shift at the countryside inn had ended hours ago, but my mind refused to quiet itself. The dreams had returned with greater intensity. Vines coiling around my wrists, voices murmuring in languages that shifted between familiar and foreign. I rolled from my bed and dressed silently. Gran's bedroom door remained closed, her soft snores audible through the thin walls. Taking my worn leather journal and a small silver penlight, I descended the creaking stairs and stepped into the night. The moon hung full and heavy, casting long shadows across the village green. Most windows remained dark at this hour, the village surrendering to slumber. Only I moved through its silence, a ghost among the living. My feet knew the path before my mind acknowledged where I was headed. Beyond the last row of cottages, past the graveyard with its listing stones, around the bend where foxgloves grew wild in summer, there stood the iron gate. It was more magnificent than village gossip suggested. 10 feet tall and wrought in a pattern of intertwining branches and blooms. It seemed not merely a barrier but a warning rendered in metal. Rust clung to its lower bars, yet the lock gleamed oddly bright, as if recently polished. "The vines are older than your dreams," Gran had warned just yesterday, her gnarled fingers wrapped around her teacup. "Promise me you'll stay away from that place, Bellamy." I had nodded, as I always did. But promises, like rules, had never managed to take root in my nature. The gate should have been locked. It had been locked for decades according to village lore. Yet when my fingers brushed against the latch, it yielded with a sigh. The hinges remained silent as the gate swung inward, inviting me to step across the threshold. I hesitated. Stories of Mr. Thorne's garden had circulated through our village for generations. Some said he had cultivated plants from the far corners of the world, species that should never have been brought to English soil. Others whispered that he had discovered something beneath the earth, something that changed him, consumed him, until one day he simply vanished, leaving only his wild garden behind. A sudden breeze rustled the trees beyond the gate, carrying notes of lavender and something deeper, musk, earth, and time. My heartbeat quickened. This was madness, surely. To enter a place that had been sealed off for decades, a place my grandmother had explicitly forbidden. Yet the dreams had called me here. Night after night, the vines had reached for me, beckoning. Just a quick look, I whispered to myself, my voice strangely loud in the midnight silence. I'll be out before dawn. With that hollow reassurance, I stepped through the gate. The transformation was immediate and bewildering. Where I had expected neglect and decay, I found vitality. The path beneath my feet was not overgrown, but neatly lined with luminescent mushrooms that pulsed with a gentle blue light. Trees that should have been skeletal in the autumn chill instead bore heavy fruit and vibrant leaves. Flowers bloomed in impossible colors. Deep purples that shifted to blue when I turned my head, reds so vivid they seemed to throb with heartbeats of their own. The air hung thick with crushed time and something else, a scent like old parchment and dreams. I drew it deep into my lungs and felt my thoughts soften around the edges. My fingers relaxed their grip on my journal. What had I been worried about? This place was beautiful, welcoming. I wandered deeper, following the winding path as it curved between towering hedges studded with white roses. Their perfume grew stronger with each step, sweet, yet not cloying. Time blurred. Had I been walking for minutes or hours? The moonlight filtering through the canopy above seemed unchanged, yet the stars had shifted in patterns I couldn't quite track. A soft sound reached me, water flowing over stones. Following it, I emerged into a clearing dominated by a circular pond. At its center stood a statue of a woman, arms outstretched, water pouring from her palms into the pool below. The sculpture appeared ancient, yet the details remained crisp, each finger perfectly formed, her expression one of serene knowledge. I knelt at the pond's edge and peered into its depths. Instead of a reflection, I saw memories. Not my own, but fragments of lives I'd never lived. A man in Victorian clothing examining a strange purple flower. A woman laughing as butterflies landed on her shoulders. Children dancing around a maypole, their faces blurred by speed and joy. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a voice asked from behind me. I startled, nearly toppling into the water. Turning, I found myself facing a woman unlike any I'd encountered in our village. She stood beneath a white lilac tree that should not have been blooming this late in the year. Her dress seemed woven from bark and ash, clinging to her form before dissolving into what looked like roots at her feet. Her hair cascaded in waves of moss green, framing a face both youthful and ancient. "I didn't mean to intrude," I said, rising to my feet. The gate was open. "The gate is always open to a thorn," she replied, her voice carrying notes of velvet and decay. "Though few remember to listen when it calls." My skin prickled. "How do you know my name?" Her laugh sounded like leaves rustling. "I don't know your name, dreamer. I know your blood." She ventured closer, her movements fluid as water. "You are a thief, though not an unwelcome one. You come here hungering." I didn't deny it. The accusation rang true in ways I couldn't articulate. All my life I'd drifted. Between jobs, between lovers, between versions of myself. Always searching for something I couldn't name. Always hungry for more. "Who are you?" I asked, finding my voice again. "Do you live here? Did you know my great-uncle?" "Names have power here," she said, ignoring my questions. "Some call me the gardener, others, the memory keeper." She reached into a pocket of her strange dress and produced a blackberry that shimmered like oil in the moonlight. "What do you seek in this place, Bellamy Thorne? Why do the dreams call you here night after night?" I stared at her, shock rendering me momentarily speechless. How could you possibly know about my dreams? "The garden knows what it needs," she replied cryptically, "and it has needed a thorn for a very long time." She extended her hand, offering the blackberry. It pulsed with an inner light, unlike any fruit I'd ever seen. "Eat and stay," she whispered. "Or leave and forget." A warning bell sounded in some distant part of my mind, a memory of Gran's voice cautioning against precisely this moment. Yet curiosity had always been my besetting sin. I reached for the fruit, its weight surprisingly substantial in my palm. "What will happen if I eat it?" I asked. "You will remember," she said simply. "Remember what?" Her smile deepened. "Everything." I studied the blackberry, turning it between my fingers. The surface rippled like water, reflecting fragments of memories. My childhood, my parents' faces, moments I'd thought long forgotten. "Why me?" I asked, still hesitating. "The garden chooses its keeper," she explained. "For generations it has been a thorn. Your great-uncle served faithfully until he could no longer bear the weight of remembering. Since then, the garden has waited, growing wild, preserving what must not be lost." "And what's that?" "The forgotten knowledge of the world," she said. "The memories people discard, the dreams they abandon, the truths they find too painful to carry." I looked around at the impossibly vibrant plants, the luminescent fungi, and the statue with its endless flow of water. "This is more than just a garden, isn't it?" "Much more," she confirmed. "It is a repository of what humanity chooses to forget. Someone must remember, Bellamy. Someone must tend these memories, or they fade forever." The blackberry pulsed more urgently in my hand. "And if I refuse?" "Then you walk back through the gate, and the dreams will cease. You will find the contentment that has eluded you, perhaps settle into the life of a village night porter. The garden will wait for another thorn to answer its call." Contentment. The word should have tempted me, yet it sounded hollow. All my restless wandering, the constant dissatisfaction, had it been the garden calling me home all along? I raised the fruit to my lips, decision made. I've never been good at refusing the unknown. The moment the blackberry touched my tongue, the world exploded into clarity. Colors intensified, scents sharpened, and sounds. Oh, the sounds. I heard every insect's wing, every root pushing through soil, every star singing in the heavens above. My knees buckled, and I sank to the earth as memories flooded my consciousness. I remembered walking these paths with my great-uncle as a child, something that had never happened, yet I recalled with perfect clarity. I remembered ancient civilizations rising and falling, languages evolving and dying, species disappearing from the earth. I remembered the feel of dinosaur hide beneath my fingertips, the taste of fruits now extinct, the sound of music played on instruments long forgotten. "These aren't my memories," I gasped. "They are the garden's memories," the woman said, kneeling beside me. "And now, they are yours to tend." The ground beneath me softened. Vines emerged from the soil, wrapping gently around my ankles, not restraining but welcoming. Grass and moss climbed my legs, creating a living cushion. "Am I becoming part of the garden?" I asked, surprised by the lack of fear in my voice. "You are becoming its keeper," she corrected. "As Edmund was before you. The garden will sustain you, and you will sustain it. A perfect symbiosis." As she spoke, I felt roots extending from my fingertips into the soil, connecting me to every plant, every creature that dwelled within the garden's boundaries. Information flowed through these connections, life cycles, growth patterns, the secret language of flowers and fungi. Knowledge that humans had once possessed and then discarded as imagination or superstition. "What about my grandmother?" I asked, even as I felt myself settling deeper into the earth. "Time moves differently here," the woman said, her form already beginning to fade like morning mist. "You may visit her in dreams, ease her worries. One day when she's ready, you may even guide her here." "Who are you?" I asked again, reaching for her dissolving figure. "Really?" Her smile was the last part of her to fade. "I am what remains when everything else is forgotten. I am the memory of the first garden, the echo of creation. And now, I can rest, for the garden has found its new keeper." As her voice trailed into silence, I felt a profound shift within myself. The restlessness that had haunted me all my life settled into purpose. The hunger transformed into understanding. I was exactly where I belonged, where I had always been meant to be. Days passed, or perhaps years. Time held little meaning in the garden. I learned to shape the growth around me, to call forth blooms that hadn't existed for millennia, to whisper to the seeds of plants not yet born. I became fluent in the language of roots and rainfall. Occasionally, villagers would approach the gate, drawn by curiosity or dares. I watched them through the eyes of birds, listened through the rustle of leaves. They saw only an overgrown, impenetrable tangle, the garden showing them what they expected to see. But for those who came seeking healing or wisdom, those with open hearts and genuine need, the gate would yield. I would guide them, without revealing myself, to plants that might ease their ailments or berries that would help them remember lost loves or forgotten dreams. They would leave changed, carrying fragments of ancient memory back into the world. My grandmother came once, months after my disappearance. She stood at the gate, her aged hand resting on the iron latch. "Bellamy," she called, her voice quavering. "If you're in there, give me a sign." I sent a gentle breeze to carry the scent of her favorite roses, ones I'd cultivated specially for her, infused with memories of her childhood. A white butterfly landed on her shoulder, bearing my silent message of reassurance. She nodded, tears glistening on her cheeks. "You found your place," she whispered. "Just like Edmund did. Watch over us, my restless boy." I learned later that she told the village I had moved to London to pursue art, a kindness to preserve my memory in their minds, and perhaps to protect the garden's secrets. When she passed, peacefully in her sleep the following winter, I welcomed her spirit into the garden. She dwells now in the rose bushes near the eastern wall, their blooms carrying her laughter. As for me, I have found peace in my rootedness. My hands have become instruments of growth, my eyes windows to centuries past and futures yet unwoven. The dreams no longer haunt me, for I am the keeper of all dreams now. Sometimes, on moonlit nights when the veil between worlds thins, I can almost perceive my human form again. A memory of the restless young man who once worked as a night porter and yearned for something more. I smile at his innocence, grateful for his courage in stepping through the gate. The villagers speak of the garden still, their stories evolving with each generation. They call it the Garden of Remembering, though few understand the truth behind the name. They say that on full moon nights, if you press your ear to the old stone wall, you can hear a lullaby drifting from within, a melody woven of rosemary and regret, of ancient knowledge and tender growth. They say that sometimes, if your need is great and your heart is true, the iron gate will open for you. That inside, a garden of impossible wonders awaits, tended by a gardener with moss-green eyes and roots for fingers. They say he will offer you a blackberry that shimmers like oil. Choose wisely, should you ever find yourself at that gate. For some hungers, once satisfied, transform you forever. Some curiosities, once indulged, can never be undone. But if your soul, like mine, has always yearned for deeper connection, if you felt the whisper of ancient memories in your dreams and the call of forgotten knowledge in your blood, then perhaps the garden waits for you too. Listen for its call on the wind. Follow the path beyond the whispering willows. The gate is never truly locked to those who need to remember. And I will be waiting, among the luminescent mushrooms and never-withering flowers, ready to welcome another seeker home. For this is the truth I have learned as keeper of the Garden of Remembering. We are all, in our way, collections of memories, some our own, some inherited, some forgotten, until the moment they bloom unexpectedly within us. To tend these memories with care, to preserve what might otherwise be lost to time's relentless march. This is not just my purpose now. It is my joy. So sleep now, dear listener, and in your dreams, perhaps you'll wander to my garden's edge. Perhaps you'll hear the leaves speaking in voices half remembered from childhood. Perhaps you'll catch the scent of impossible flowers blooming out of season. And perhaps, just perhaps, you'll understand that the veil between memory and dream is thinner than you ever imagined. Rest well, dream deeply, and remember,